Shalom Talmidim, Shemot Etzem Perek Zayin. Nouns, Lesson 7, Segolate Nouns. In the noun melech, do you notice that it's accented on the first syllable and it has two segels in it? There are many nouns like this that are accented on the first syllable, and often they have segol vowels. Because of this, they are commonly called Segolate Nouns. These are some of the most common nouns in Hebrew. Sometimes, because of a guttural consonant, they will take patach instead of segol. Na'ar, for instance. Some will have a different first vowel. Boker has a cholam, sefer has a tsere. But all of these are accented on the first of two syllables. The plural of Segolate nouns will look unusual at first, but every Segolate noun follows the exact same pattern. So the singular will be like melech, king, and the plural, melachim, kings. So a noun with two segols accented on the first syllable, melech, transforms into one with shava, then kamatz gadol, the long A, and then the plural ending, mulachim. Originally, this type of noun was only one syllable with a short A, I, or O, perhaps a U, after the first consonant, and no vowel whatsoever between the second and third consonants. So melech was apparently originally malk, with a short A after the mem. Later, malk was transformed into malek, and then eventually into melech. We still organize them into three classes based on which vowel they used to have. In certain contexts, the original vowel will reappear. One of these is in the dual. It will also reappear when pronominal suffixes, like possessive suffixes, are put onto the noun. We will see that in a later video. For now, let's look at the plural and dual of each class. We start with the A class in the plural. So we've already seen melech becomes melachim in the plural. Pretty much the same thing happens to eretz. But there are two wrinkles. Ratzot. First, the aleph at the beginning of the word cannot have simple vocal shava. It requires one of the composite shavas, in this case, patach. In the second place, eretz is a feminine noun, an endingless feminine noun in the singular, so in the plural it will take ot, not im. So eretz becomes ratzot. Now let's look at the dual of the A class. So regel is an A class noun. It means foot. Technically, it's the lower part of the leg, including the foot and the ankle, and the bottom of the shin, or calf. Regel is an A class segolate and a body part that normally comes in pairs. So it won't take a normal plural. Instead, its plural form will actually be a dual. Do you remember that? If not, review the dual video. So regel in the dual will become raglayim. Notice that we have a patach under the resh. This is the original patach of the A class segolate noun. Regel will become the dual form raglayim. Now let's look at the I class segolates in the plural. Sefer is a fairly stereotypical I class segolate. Notice it's got a tsere up front. That's a remnant of the original I vowel that would have been under the samek. But in the plural, it follows the same pattern as all segolates in the plural, sefarim. Not all I class segolates will have a tsere up front. Kever is an I-class segolate, but it has two segals. Its plural is regular, qvarim. In the dual, we'll expect to see an I vowel under the first consonant, right? So, berech, which means knee, a body part that comes in pairs, so its plural form will actually be a dual, right? And we get birkayim, with a chirek under the beit. That's the chirek of the I-class segolate. Last, we come to the O-class. In the plural, we have boker, for instance. This is a very stereotypical O-class segolate. Most, if not all, O-class segolates will begin with a cholem after the first consonant. But the plural will be quite regular, bkarim. When we have a word like chodesh, beginning with a guttural consonant, when we go to its plural, we get chodashim, but instead of a vocal shava under the chet, we get chatef kamatz, a very small holdover of the original O that we see in the singular with chodesh. And last, we come to the O class in the dual. Again, we have a body part, ozen, ear. And in the dual, it's oznayim. Now this kamatz under the aleph is kamatz chatuf, a short O. Not only does it come in a closed, unaccented syllable at the beginning of the word, but also it is in alternation with the cholem in the singular. If you have a cholem in a word in one form, and some sort of kamatz in the same place in that same word in another form, the kamatz will almost always be kamatz chatuf. At least it's a good guess. So ozen in the singular becomes oznayim in the dual form. Now remember that this dual form of these body parts does not mean necessarily only two. You could be talking about the ears of a whole classroom full of people, each of them normally having two and only two ears, but the whole classroom will have 2 times however many students there are plus the teacher. And you would still talk about the oznayim. It would function as a plural, even though technically the form is dual. Beseder? For these segolate nouns, as for most of the other types of nouns that have big changes in the plural, I'm not recommending that you memorize all of the details. What's important to me is that you can go from a plural form to the singular so that you can look something up in the dictionary or the lexicon. It's also important to me that you at least be able to connect the singular and plural forms so that you recognize them as forms of the same word. If for you that means you need to memorize all of the rules and the ins and outs, then by all means do so. But if you can recognize the words without a lot of extra memory work, all the better for you. Tov?